Did you know that the October Revolution did not happen in October? Surprise, it was November, but most of us should know that. It is Russian History 101. Or so I thought. Hi, my name is Lady Izdihar, and I'm a historian on Eastern Europe and Russia, and I can give you at least a little bit of perspective from one individual, although I encourage you to get your information from multiple historians because we all view things a little bit different. And it's your responsibility as a researcher to make sure your sources are expansive. All right, let's get into it. In honor of the women who joined the Bolshevik Revolution, some in November, not October, I am dressed as though my husband died in World War I, and now I'm gonna fight because the provisional government sucks. Well, it depends on how you view history, I guess. I also decided to make this video in between the October 25th date and the November 7th date in the the calendar that we use now. So we can start with the February Revolution of 1917, which actually happened in March, in which the monarchy was deposed of. This united multiple anti-Tsarist groups, and a provisional government was set up. Throughout the following summer, multiple smaller movements grew throughout rural Russia. And then finally, on October 25th, which was actually November 7th in 1917, the Bolsheviks, led by Vladimir Lenin, took over the provisional government. One of the largest factors of the new revolt came because not just small ideological disagreements, but because they were still in World War I and people were very upset with the continual loss of life. But the dates are confusing, right? Well, this is because up until the following January, Russia used the Julian calendar instead of the Gregorian calendar like everyone else. In January of 1918, when they switched to the Gregorian calendar, this created, I believe, a 13-day difference. And so technically, a little over 100 years ago, every citizen in the newly formed Soviet Union lost half an entire month and got caught up to the rest of the world as far as calendar dates go. You see, because of this use of a different calendar, the October Revolution actually happened on the 7th of November, which is why when you see photographs and illustrations of this happening, it's not just, wow, it's so cold and snowing in Russia in October. No, it's November. But, I think the issue here isn't necessarily just people not being as educated on these things, but rather there is a problem with naming certain historical events after the month it took place in, not just when you use a totally different calendar and that skews things when you switch to a new one, but also because there are so many historical events from around the world that are identified in the same exact way, with the October Revolution, the February Revolution, or revolutions in other nations that I am not qualified to speak about because I study Russian history. A major example would be the October Revolution in Sudan in 1964. Bloody Sunday is also a good example. There are many Bloody Sundays through history, and so when you just say, oh yeah, Bloody Sunday, you never really know which one you're talking about. And so that itself is a fault of the naming dynamics in the English speaker's way of identifying historical events. And while I don't think it is 100% necessary for those of us interested in communism or Marxist-Leninist theory to know all of the history surrounding its creation and then its implementation later on, I do think it is an important element to give context. I think there is a frustration in general for communists on the internet who feel like they have to be many things: a historian, an economics knower, I'm not good with math, a philosopher, an ethnographer or anthropologist. And while many of these things are important to know, the history in which took place, the people that were involved, the social dynamics and cultural dynamics that affected all of these things, it's good to know, but it is a lot to expect of everyone. And I think the solution is, one, call things like the October Revolution by its alternative names, like the Bolshevik Revolution, or two, speak limitedly on the things that you're not for certain on. And I'm at fault for this too. I speak on all sorts of things. I think those of us who are on the internet and post things and create things, we have become a part of the society where we feel like we need an opinion on everything. But I think it is always best to keep your opinions specific to your interest or specialty areas. Like I always try to just, make things focus around Eastern Europe, Russia, and sometimes my religion, because that's what I know, that's what I can talk about. Some of that I'm actually qualified to speak on. And while I don't want to take away from people's opinions, especially those who haven't been able to study the things that they want or go to school, though I don't think schooling is necessarily a qualification for knowing and understanding these things and studying these things, I don't want to take away from their opinions and perspectives, but perhaps there is a tier in which we take certain perspectives a little bit more seriously than others based on their knowledge and understanding. And it can be frustrating when our comrades go and say things that aren't accurate or just, said in a not great way, and then it reflects poorly on all of us trying to do, real education and understanding and community work out here. So I do want to encourage you all to really read and study and understand the history of those things and be inspired by it. I always say to be inspired by history because there is so much to be inspired by. And as we say, when it comes to Russian history, more often than not, remember, October is November. Anyways, thank you for listening to my small informational rant. If you want to support me, you can subscribe to me here, watch my videos, follow me on Instagram and TikTok, and you can also support me on Patreon. And I just started a shop. So if you want to help fund my research, I have a shop called Lady Izdihar's Propaganda, where you can buy sticker prints, some translated, some not, of various propaganda posters and prints and advertisements that give you a more well-rounded view of what the Soviet Union was. So I focus on multicultural or multinational depictions, anti-drunkenness ads, as well as educational efforts. So you can support me there as well. Thank you for being here. Again, be inspired by history. All right. Goodbye.